In today's sales tip, I want to talk to you about a powerful metric called PVR, Gross PVR, right? And you've probably seen it before. Some of your managers are actually tracking it up on the board. I want to explain it to you, and I want to explain why it's so important. Remember, metrics are simply measurements. It's us tracking how we're doing. Similar to in football, we track yards per carry, yards per pass, completion percentage, that kind of thing. Metrics help us evaluate how well we're doing. Today, let's talk about your gross PVR metric. What does that mean? It means your gross per vehicle retailed. In other words, if you did $24,000 in gross and you sold 12 cars, your gross PVR would be what? $2,000. And that's how it's calculated. Now, this is very important. Gross PVR tells us how well we're following the process. It also tells us how well we're managing our inventory. The right inventory matters, doesn't it? And it tells us how good we're doing with our pricing. Are we accurately pricing our cars, right? It tells us a lot of things. Now, I want to tell you, there's a mistake sometimes with gross PVR. Some salesmen get hung up on gross PVR, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're not paid on gross PVR, you're paid on total gross. You're paid on total gross. In other words, the more cars you sell, times the higher your PVR, the more gross you create, the more you make. So your paycheck's a combination of your gross per vehicle retailed times the number of units you sell. Okay. Now, when people get consumed with their gross PVR, it often causes them to lose sales. And let me show you what I mean. You need to graph out your sales. And if you put your sales in a graph, and these were the units like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you were to graph out how much you made per car, what would that graph look like? Can I tell you this? A lot of these graphs go like this. In other words, the gross on most of the sales is around the same. 1,200, 15, 16, 14, 17, 1,200, 13, around the same area. There's not a lot of fluctuation. What's the problem with that? What does that tell us? You know what that tells us? It tells us that when there's more money to be made, we're not getting it. As a matter of fact, a lot of times salesmen will start giving their customers price based on what they know or think they have in a car, right? They set an acceptable gross profit range, and that's how they're working the deals, and that will cost you a fortune. The other problem is this normally means that when there's short deals, we're missing them. We're not getting the tough short deals. So here's what I want to tell you. If you're going to graph your grosses, it should look like a heart attack. Your gross graph should look like you're having a heart attack. What does that mean? It means when there's a tough deal, a short deal, you still make that deal. But when there's money to be made, what do? You capitalize on it. You see, averages are made up of highs and lows, and there's a lot of times we cannot influence the gross, right? The car's on sale, it's overage, there's no trade to profit, right? There's nothing we can do to improve that sale, but at least we're making that sale, turn that iron, create an excited low lifetime customer, moving on to the next. The problem comes in when we have a lot of profit to make those unique vehicles, those ones that we know demand a higher profit, and we sell them short. We don't want to do that. We want to maximize every opportunity. All right, here's what I want to tell you about gross PVR. Here's my thinking. Take every penny available, close your deal, and move on. What do I mean? Take every penny available. So gross is not the enemy of volume, and volume is not the enemy of gross. The enemy of gross and volume is not following your process. Stick to your process, create that relationship and trust, sell the car, build that value, desire, get that commitment, and follow your 5 steps of negotiation to reach a win-win agreement, and the gross and volume will take care of themselves. Good selling.